So we've talked about like three things we're going to do in ministry, some funny animal stories. So I think I'll continue with some funny people stories, maybe some stupid people stories, but I'll leave the names out of it, but it's just some funny stuff. So a couple of things. I moved down to go down to Bible college in 1997. Moved down to South Coast Metro, Santa Ana, basically Costa Mesa area. And so, while at Bible college, you get to make friends and stuff like that. So I had the unfortunate incident one time of I had bought a couple persimmons. I never had them, so I figured, hey, I'll try this thing, see what it tastes like. Well, I didn't know how to test them. They weren't right. So the first one I had, my mouth puckered up. It basically, sucked all the moisture out. It was not a good feeling. And it was just really bad. So after that, I got it in my twisted head that I'd give one of my buddies an unripe persimmon and see the reaction. So I did, but I waited till the perfect moment. We were all going somewhere, and I was actually staying at home that night. So one of my friends told me, you got to try this, man. These things are really good. And I sold it. I really sold the story on that one. And so, this poor guy, he's in the car. They're getting ready to go off to wherever they were going. I don't remember where. But this was, again, fall 97. So he's in the back seat of the car, the window's down, and I hand him this. I'm like, dude, you got to try this. It's so delicious. And so he makes the mistake of taking a big bite, and immediately you see his eyes just bulge out and his mouth just starts sealing shut. And it's hilarious because the persimmon isn't ripe at all. So this guy, the moisture just gets sucked right out of his mouth. He's like, and I'm like, and I with a straight face, I'm like, oh my God, dude, I don't know what's going on, but you better get to a hospital. You better tell them to take you to an ER or something. And they sped off. And I know, like 22 years on, looking back, it's a messed up thing to do. That was messed up, especially since I knew it was going to happen. But it was really funny. It was really funny. So while I was in Bible college, it was only a 4-month period that all this craziness happened. So there was another time, and before I forget too, but going back to the funny animal thing, there used to be like this 3-foot iguana that would sun itself in the volleyball pit. And no matter if people were playing volleyball or not, this damn thing was out there. So I thought I'd just share that real quick. So getting back to the funny people stories, the apartment we lived in, the building, we were on the lower floor, on one side. Apartment 221, I remember it in my head. It's pretty funny. And it was weird because it was 221 instead of 121, and it was downstairs, but that's the way I guess they did it. I think the floors were upstairs. I think that's how they ran that thing. But anyway, on the backside of our building and upstairs, we hear this commotion. I didn't know exactly where it was, but I always had my front door open, so you could hear everything, and people would come in and out. We'd have other Bible college students that didn't know how to feed themselves or cook, and they'd come over and lounge with us, and they'd eat. I was the oldest one at 22, and so they'd come over and hang and grab some food. So I hear this ruckus. My cousin and I are there. My cousin's a big guy, about 180, 185 pounds, 5'10". I'm only 5'7", but I was about 195, and I was doing a lot of weight training and working out. So I was in much better shape than I am now. I'm much younger and much cockier and arrogant, right? Apt to step into trouble. So I hear this noise, we hear this stuff breaking, we hear this girl screaming, this young lady screaming, and it's like, all right, something's going on. I grew up around enough domestic violence to know that basically she's getting beat up, and you hear plates and dishes, whatever, crashing around and breaking. So I get that same old brick phone, that portable phone with the wire, and I call 911 as I'm walking out. And I'm like, come on, Jay, my cousin, like, come on, Jeremy, let's go. So we go over there, and I'm talking to the police while I'm looking up at the balcony. And it's funny and it's not funny because this guy was beating up on his girlfriend and she's throwing plates at him. But it's funny because I'm, on the phone with the cops at the time, and he comes out onto the balcony. And he's wearing what we used to call a wife beater. And I know it's not PC, but he's wearing a wife beater, tank top. And the guy's got these little shorts on. You can see his religion, I swear, you know. And he leans over, weighing all of about $110, $120, and he threatens me. I'm gonna come down there and kick your so and so and this and that, you know. And I'm like, all right, just give me a minute. I'm on the phone, you know. And he screams at me. He's like, who are you talking to? And I said, I'm talking to your ride. You know, it's the cops. They're on their way to pick you up for being a scumbag and beating up on your girlfriend. And this guy is so pissed off. He's trying to shake the rail, but it's not doing anything. He's turning bright red. And he was telling me he's going to beat me up. And I'm like, yeah, so you said. By the way, they're giving me updates. They're on their way right now to come and get you, and they can hear you. My cousin looks at me, and he freaks out. He's like, what are we going to do? This guy's going to come get us. And we got two young bucks here. You know, we're big guys. And this little dude, like a toothpick, is threatening us after beating up on his girlfriend. I'm just not having it. But my cousin runs back to the apartment. So I wait there, and I keep the guy until the cops show up. And they go up there and drag him off in cuffs. And he's still turning around, yelling at me, cussing me out, and I'm laughing so hard. So it was pretty funny. So it wasn't as funny for me, because I would go back to the apartment. I found out my cousin had locked the door. He got so scared, he locked the door thinking this guy's going to come get us. Like, dude, this guy was so small. I think they ended up getting evicted later on because of that incident. So he wasn't around anymore anyway, but not that he could have done much. And then I think it was about a month or so later, my cousin and I actually got into a fight. My cousin was really mad at me, you know, and he took a swing at me, and I ducked, and I got him in a headlock. Well, you know, that left me open to a couple of body shots, and he was a big enough guy that he was picking me up. My feet were making prints on the wall. And so I didn't want to hurt him. You know, I was bigger and older than him. And so, you know, I got him in a headlock, and I held him. And I'm yelling at my other roommate, hey, help me. You know, grab his legs and pin him down till he calms down, because I don't want to beat him up. I look over at my other roommate, he's in his 20s, is sitting in the corner, curled up in the fetal position, crying, tears streaming down. Please stop the violence. And he's crying that he can't take it. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? Grab his damn legs and help me out. You know, grow a pair and get up and help me. He didn't. So I had to wait until my cousin tired himself out. It was pretty funny, though. I think the last incident, okay, it was on the spaghetti incident of 1997. Sorry, it was September 28th, 97. So I getting some tea out of my Gatorade bottle. But I remember the date because it was the Philadelphia Eagles, Minnesota Vikings. It was Sunday night. And I'm sitting down to watch football. And I just made a big batch of spaghetti, you know, with the marinara and the noodles. Well, an incident happened with my cousin and his girlfriend. You know, I had to get her out of there because he wasn't acting right. And so he and I got into a little tussle, and I had to throw him against the door. And my other roommate, meanwhile, thought it would be funny to call me a punk and the B word and tell me to, you know, to get him some food after he just saw me pick up this grown man and throw him across the room. And so this excellent idea he had, you know, I told him, I'm like, you know, don't talk to me that way. You better watch your mouth. And he looked at me again and he said, look, punk, you're nothing. Go get me some damn food. He's all of 18, just graduated high school. I mean, I was 22, but I had a lot more life experience and a lot more experience around violent people and horrible things. So this guy, man, and I'm sorry, it makes me laugh every time I think about it or tell the story. You know, he sits there and he's sitting on this couch all smug, and I'm like, I get up and I bring my own dish over there, and I don't know what he's thinking. Because I tell him, you know what, you can have mine. And I'm holding it directly over his head. And he says, well, what are you waiting for? And I ask him, are you sure you want me to serve you some spaghetti? You're that hardcore, you want some? He goes, yeah, punk. And as soon as he said that, I just dumped it on his head. The spaghetti and marinara sauce just dripping down his face. and his head. And I know some people are just appalled by violence and, they think it bullying behavior. But I mean, this guy, they'd mistreated some young ladies that were over at our house and that were our guests. And I had to deal with that. I had to deal with them. Had actually physical and restrained my cousin. So there was a lot of stuff going on that could have escalated into some horrible things towards these young ladies. And I handled it. So this guy, as far as I'm concerned, he got off easy. And as soon as that happened, all the wind went out of his sails. And he tells me, he says, I can't believe you did that. And I says, well, maybe my hand slipped, but if you want to say something about it and call me a punk again, you're welcome to stand up and man up and grow a set. And we can do this. And he didn't want anything. And that was pretty much it. He just kind of sat there and let the spaghetti drip off his head. I think the only loser in that situation, because he got a lesson at least, I think the biggest loser in that was my poor bowl of spaghetti. I had to go back and get another bowl. So anyway, those are some funny stories. I mean, there's some violence, but I guess in a humorous way. And I had an interesting time. It makes for interesting stories. They're all true. I know I laugh when I tell them, but I mean, hindsight, it's a little funnier than when it was there, but it was still funny at the time. So anyway, I'll have some more for you guys, and you all take care. All right, bye-bye.